Alright, real quick, I'm going to show you how to get the images on your cube UV layout, and so that we can save it and then bring it back into Blender. So just a couple things here about Photoshop and how to get those images on there. First thing is we need to have the layers panel open. If you don't have it, over there on the side, click Window and Layers. And if it comes up like this out here, you can click and drag right on the tab and throw it in here. When you get the blue line going across, drop it. History as well, so go to Window and History. If we're going to work in Photoshop, we need to do it right and have these tabs open. So the history, so we can undo easily, and our layers, so that we know what layers we have. Okay, when you bring in the UV image layout, when you export it and bring it into Photoshop, just open with Photoshop. If it was saved as a PNG, that's really nice, because then it gives you two layers right here. This one right here, which is the layout itself, and then the background. So we could have it transparent or have a white background. White background's nice because then there's something behind the picture if you don't get it perfectly on the squares. And this is nice so that we can see where our cube is going to be laid out, and then we can get rid of it before we save it, just to make sure we don't get some of those things in there. Alright, I'm going to show you a couple different ways to get pictures in here. The first way is to open up a file. So if you save an image to your files, just go to File and Open. Find that file, whatever it is, double click on it, and what it does, it opens up in a separate tab. Here's my UV layout, and here's my skier picture. So if one of my life events was skiing, like I do that all the time, way too much, then I could put a picture of that on there. So what I'm going to do, a trick here, to know what size these are, I'm going to grab my marquee tool and I'm going to zoom in. If you hold down Alt and scroll wheel, it zooms, and I'm going to zoom in kind of far in the square. Now I'm going to click right on the corner and drag to the other corner, and I'm going to pay attention to what the height and width is that's in that little box right there as I do this. And it looks like it's about 257 pixels. So I'm going to hit Control D. So it's 257, it's a perfect square, so 257 by 257, that's going to help me. Before I bring this skier picture over, I'm going to crop it that dimension. So I'm going to come up here after clicking crop, and it was 257 px, hit tab, 257 px, and there's a perfect square. If I click on it, I can drag and get whatever size image I want. I can drag it around to get exactly the image I want, but it's going to be a perfect square on the cube. And then click the check mark, and there's my image, perfect size it should be. If I click the move tool, I'm going to click and drag the image and bring it up here to this tab. I'm still clicking and holding it, and then I bring it back down and then drop it. And it creates a new layer there, and it should be the right size. Looks like it may be a tiny bit too big, but that's okay. I can use the arrow keys to get it exactly in position, and that's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to stick that down here because I have others that I've already done just to make this shorter. Okay, so I've got graduation, marriage, family, all that stuff, life events. I'm going to show you one more way to bring an image in. If you go to the internet and search for an image, I'm going to get a nice picture of a computer. Now, I don't have to save my image to my files. I can just right click and copy it, copy image, and then go back to Photoshop and go File, New, and I don't have to worry about, this is just going to be temporary, so I don't have to worry about naming it. And Photoshop is awesome because when I copy something, it recognizes what the size of that picture is, and it just assumes that I'm going to paste it pretty soon, so it gives me those dimensions. So by default, I can just use those options or those settings and click OK, and then Control V to paste. There's my computer image. Now I need that a square, so that might not be the best picture now that I think about it. But I'm going to crop it. My 257 is already up in there, and I can even drag it up this way, and it's going to give me that color background. So I'm going to make that background white, and then I can make it a little bigger. I'm going to get most of that computer in there. And click the check mark. There's the right size. If I click my move tool, click and drag, it's going to drag that's interesting. Okay. Up there, and then drop it here. And then it kind of clicks into the square, so that's kind of nice. Okay, now that I've got that, I'm going to deselect or uncheck this. Now that I've got them in the right spot, click the eyeball on that layout so I don't see those black lines or the dark shadow background. So I'm going to save it. If I go up to the File menu and Save As, that way I'm not going to save it as a Photoshop file, although that's a good idea to just in case you need to make changes to it later. I'm going to drop that down, or I guess it's going up. I'm going to save it as a PNG. PNG is best because then it saves transparencies if we want to use that. I'm not going to in this case, but it's a good habit to get into when you're working with computers and transparencies. So when I brought it into Photoshop, I named it, or when I exported it from Blender, I named it UV Cube Layout. I'm just going to say 2, or you could put import or pictures or something on there just to distinguish it. Then I'll click Save, and then it's click OK. Then it's ready for me to go get it and bring it back into Blender, and there's another video for that.